just sitting up here, making sure that you can see me and that my camera's set up well. I'm a little short now. Okay. Looking forward to this today. Be teaching all about reusing and repurposing your content, and it's gonna be good. Just setting this up a little bit. There we go. So I feel like I'm looking up pretty high. Let me see here. Let's make it a little closer so I can actually see if you're commenting or need some help with certain concepts. Okay. So welcome. I think it's a little sideways, but we'll just have to deal with that. Okay. Hi, I'm Willow. I'm a content creator and I specialize in repurposing content. And today I will be offering a training about reusing and repurposing your content. And if you haven't already downloaded it, there's actually an accompanying freebie that I designed to help you with 15 different ways to repurpose your content. And we'll be going through all of those 15 ways more in depth today. So if you've already downloaded that freebie, you can actually flip through and keep up with me because I'm going to go through in order, and you can make notes in the columns and start to picture like how would this work for your content. So today I'll be talking about simple ways to leverage the heavy lifting that you've already done for your content creation so that you can use your existing content to create new content. And I will be looking at notes because that's just how my brain works. But I have a lot that I want to put into this training. That's why I have so many notes, and I'm gonna keep it at an hour hopefully. So I'll have to keep looking at time. But I'm leaving 15 minutes at the end for Q&A. So if you have specific questions about your own content creation, you can ask them in the comments, or you can come on camera with me and we can discuss your specific questions together. I also offer done-for-you content repurposing, so if you'd like to get more eyes on your marketing, feel free to send me a DM and we can talk more about what that would look like for you and your brand. And I will also be sharing a link to that freebie that I mentioned in the comments a bit at the end, actually, because I don't have it easily accessible. And feel free to download that after this live. Maybe you're watching the replay. I recommend downloading it before you start watching so that you can keep your notes there, or you can just sort of follow along each 15 of these different ways of repurposing and reusing your content. So let's get started so that we have time at the end for the Q&A, right? I like the Q&A part because it's fun for me to hear what people are doing with their content. It always helps me think about what I'm doing with my clients. Oh, and this is also going to be a good look into what it's like to work with me, because a lot of these tactics I use when I am designing content for my clients. So you'll get a little behind the scenes of what it's like to work with me and some of the types of content that I create for my clients. So let's get started. Okay, number one, make IG feed posts into Reels. So if you haven't followed me before or looked at my account, I actually have been doing a series of tutorials on just this. So how do we take our feed posts and create IG Reels from them? First, you want to take a look at your insights and find some of your most high-performing posts and think about, are these doable as Reels? So how can I re-envision this as a Reel? And then you can find the main points of that post. What are the main points? And simplify your message and keep it short and punchy, because as you know, most Reels are pretty short. So I want you to experiment with different lengths and try some 15-second Reels, try some 5-second Reels, try some 30-second Reels. That's like on the long side, but you could try it and see what resonates with your audience. Start to look at trends and sounds that would work with the actual theme of these posts that you're going to repurpose. And think about whether those sounds and trends would help convey the things that you want it to convey. And it's good practice to put a call to action in the overlaid text over the reel, because a lot of people are watching reels with the sound off, or they might be hearing impaired. It's nice to make it accessible so that they can read. And when you're designing that call to action, you want something that's going to also have them click over and look at the caption, because aside from just looking at the video, you would hope they'd also read the caption. So some ways to do that would be to create a cliffhanger. So like, do you want to know more? Check out the caption. Or a cliffhanger that's a little more, convincing than that. The other thing you can do is promise to answer a question that a lot of your clients have about a certain topic. Tell them there's more info in the caption. Maybe there's something that they're curious about that you have knowledge about that you can help them with, so that you sort of give them, you pique their interest with the reel, and then you give them more info in the actual caption. So I also think it's good to try some of the trending audio that's out there. You can see a little arrow going up if it's trending on Instagram. So I would try some of the smaller trending audio, like 5,000 uses. And you can see that by clicking on the audio, you can see how many times it's been used. Uh-oh, I hope my internet's okay. All right. So experiment with original audio as well. Original audio is when you record the sound of you. See what your audience connects with more. Some people do really well with original audio because it helps them connect on a more personal level. And the trending stuff is fun, but it doesn't necessarily get you a client, So try different types of things. So that's number 1, using your IG posts to create reels. Now let's move on to number 2. And that is using blog posts to write material for your email list. So you shouldn't really stray away from your own style guidelines. Use whatever you've been using for your emails. For instance, if your emails are short and punchy, keep them short and punchy, and that means you can go to your blog and find the main points and then rewrite it as something short. If your emails are longer and more informational or more storytelling based, you can use actual paragraphs from your blog and add stories, or you can take more of the blog post and incorporate it into one email. The other thing you can do, if you want people to actually visit your blog from your emails, you can give them a really informational, meaty paragraph about the blog post and pique their interest, and then give them a link to go over and read the full blog post in your emails. I say that you should really carefully craft that paragraph, because people are overstimulated, like there's so much going on in the online world, so they need a good reason to click over. So another way you can use your blog posts is to create email series or an email course. So the series could be for current subscribers, or it could be for new subscribers. You could offer it as a free gift when people subscribe, and you can sort of every day you can build on the topic, right? So a blog post can work really well for that kind of content, because you already have it at your fingertips and you don't have to like rethink, oh, what do I know about, what should I write about? You already have that information on your blog. So that can be a good way to use those blog posts as emails. So that's number 2. And number 3 is to create an IG carousel post from a blog article. So again, you're looking at the blog that you already have on your blog. You're looking at the article that you already have on your blog, and you are simplifying the main thoughts within that blog into short, bite-sized bits, because each carousel post has just a little bit of space on each slide for you to get your point across. So you want each each bit to be really bite-sized, and it'll be separated onto a different slide of the carousel, and you have up to 10 carousels to say what you need to say. So think about what lends itself to that kind of format. And when you are creating carousels, these are a few of the tips that I have for you. Keep your points simple. So don't go into, and if this is the way it is, then do this. And if, like, don't go on too many tangents. Keep it very direct and very clear. And then a good way to keep the information really easy to digest is to use color and font hierarchy principles. And that doesn't mean that you have to be a graphic designer, but you just can keep certain things in mind. Bolder colors might be good for titles, So like I have a really bright red that I use for my logo, and I might use that dark, it's not a bright red, I would say it's like a dark, passionate red. I might use that for the titles of my carousel, and then I would use maybe the lighter orangey gold color of my brand as the text underneath, because it's a less dominant color. And you can kind of use that hierarchy to show what's the most important thing. Like, this is the title, and then this is a little more about that concept. So there's a little bit of sprinkling rain coming down, but it's just left over on the trees from this morning. It's been raining here a lot. So yeah, using color and font hierarchy is important. And then you can also think about the way that people naturally read when you're designing. So you don't want to make the reading more difficult for people or feel unnatural. So if you are writing a sentence like, 10 sheep went to the garden, you don't want like 10 sheep to be on one, so you don't want it to say 10 sheep went to, and then the next line says the garden, because it doesn't feel natural. You might say like 10 sheep on one line, and then went to on the next line, and then the garden, or went to the garden on one line. So you want it to feel natural when people are reading and not feel unnatural, because it's just easier for them to grasp the information if you do that. Now, calls to action for carousel posts. It's really good to invite people to save the post, because they can refer back to it if they need that information again, and that helps you with your with your impact on Instagram. And also you can invite them to share the post with somebody who needs it. Maybe they have a business friend who would benefit from the information in the post, so you can invite them to share it with their community. So those are two good calls to action for carousel posts. Alright, so that's number 3. IG carousel posts from blog articles. If you have any questions as we go through, you can just write them in the chat, and I will get to them at the end of the live. Now, number 4, create a slideshow on LinkedIn from an IG carousel. So I don't know how many of you are active on LinkedIn. It can be a good place to create relationships with potential clients and also find community within your own industry. Now, I think most of you probably know how to create a basic post on LinkedIn, but have you ever created a multi-image PDF? I'm curious. Those can be kind of fun on LinkedIn, and this doesn't take a lot of additional work for you. It's very noisy here as usual. For you to create. So you're going to take your carousel post that you already designed, and you're going to resave it either at 1080 by 1080 pixels, which is square, or you can save it at 1920 by 1080, which you might already have it at those dimensions, because that's kind of that's the same size as a reel, and then some Instagram posts are around that size. So anyway, those are the two best dimensions to use for LinkedIn. So you would save it at those dimensions as a PDF or a PowerPoint, and then you would download it and upload it to LinkedIn. And the way that it's going to be shared is kind of like a video. So if someone presses play, it'll just automatically go through. And I think in Canva you can decide how long you want each slide to last for. I like using Canva. You can use a lot of other tools. You could use PowerPoint. So you've uploaded it to LinkedIn, and then it's important to give some context in the caption. Some people are readers, you know, and some people immediately go to the video, and it's good to sort of speak to both of those people. So when you're creating the caption, you want to give it some context so that people are interested in looking at the video that you've created. And then another best practice for LinkedIn is to tag your connections, especially mostly people that would have something to add to the conversation. So if you're making a post about SEO, for instance, and you know some SEO experts, ask them if they have any additional tips to share about SEO, and you can get a conversation started so that more people get to see your work and actually interact with it. So that is number 4, creating a slideshow on LinkedIn from an IG carousel post. Now, number 5, sharing videos from YouTube to Instagram. So if you create long form content on YouTube, you can reuse that content in a lot of ways. One way you can do that is to take your longer form video content on YouTube and edit it into shorter clips. I'm thinking like, 10 seconds to 1 minute, and you're finding the really interesting parts of an interview or interesting parts of a conversation that you had about a certain topic, and you are highlighting those points and creating short clips of those. And then one way you can use those is to encourage subscribes to YouTube on Instagram by sharing those shorter pieces of your content so that people get interested in becoming a subscriber on YouTube. You can also use those shorter clips to encourage people to get to know what you do and show that you know about this topic, show that you build some trust on Instagram. These are good ways to use shorter video content, and you can experiment with length. The other thing you can do with those shorter clips is to upload them to YouTube Shorts. All you have to do is keep it, I believe, under a minute, and you need to hashtag shorts at the top of the description, the YouTube description. Someone's selling something going by. Anyway, the shorts can get really good traction sometimes, so that's a good thing to try. And what does your audience like? You're going to experiment a little bit with length, 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. You can try the 30 seconds, 2 minutes, and 5 minutes on Instagram, and then keep it a little shorter for the YouTube Shorts. And then check what content gets the most interactions and reach on Instagram, and that's how you can track like what's working the best for you. And you should add captions and titles. You can do that with Veed. That's one of the tools you can use to do that. I know that you can add captions with some phones, like iPhones, and in certain regions of the world, you can do it automatically on Instagram. So there's different options for doing the captioning. Why do you want to caption? Because people many times are watching without sound. Some people are hearing impaired, so you want to make it accessible. Sometimes people are watching at work and they can't listen to something, so it's good to have captions, very important. And you also want to, share it on with a good description, so it tells people what they're watching. Again, like some people are readers, some people are automatically go to the video first. So that is number 5, sharing videos from YouTube to Instagram and YouTube Shorts. Number 6, share your Facebook or Instagram live videos to YouTube. So we're going the other direction now. And first, what you need to do is use a free online tool. There's a lot of them to download your live from Instagram or from Facebook. And then you can search on YouTube for similar things, similar topics, and find some good SEO terms to use in your description so that the right people are getting to your video content. It's good to upload your video to YouTube with an engaging title that incorporates some of those SEO terms. And make sure that you add a clear description about what the live is about, and include those SEO terms that you had searched before, and then that'll make it a lot easier for the right people to happen upon your videos. And if you want extra credit, you can also create beginning titles with text overlay, and that clearly states what the video is about, so people aren't confused about, you know, whether they should waste their time on your video or not. It won't be a waste of time, by the way. Then once you have shared these videos to YouTube, don't forget to actually share the link. So you're going to share it on in your blogs, in emails, on social media, and wherever you're active, basically. You can let them know that you have these YouTube videos. Now, number 7. Use Instagram and Facebook Lives to write blog posts. So Instagram Lives can be really good material to actually write a blog post. I just did one recently. I interviewed Karishma, who's a financial expert, and we had an interesting conversation, which I transcribed, and then I looked through the transcription and made sure that it made sense, because a lot of times when we're talking, it's different than when we're writing, right? So it needed some clarification, which I gave it, and then I added some more information to make it a really robust blog post. So that's essentially how I would do it. You can transcribe the video first by going to YouTube and uploading the video if it's not already there, and then you can get the SRT file, which is the captions, and download it, or you can actually watch those captions as you're watching the interview and start to jot down your ideas if you need, if you want to build on the ideas of the conversation. And the other thing that's really good to do is, if you did interview somebody, make sure to cross-pollinate with their audience. So let them know that you are creating this blog post, and let them know when it comes out so that they can also share it with their community and get the word out to more people. And then I also think it's good practice to embed that original live in the blog post that you create, so that people that do like to watch videos can watch and feel, you know, included, basically. So that is number 7, using Instagram and Facebook Lives to write blog posts. Just looking at the time, make sure I'm giving enough time for Q&A later. Okay, so number 8, simplifying the info from your videos to create juicy questions. So this is an interesting one that not a lot of people think about, but I recommend it. So there's a tendency to just do a live and then just let it sit there on your profile, but it's actually a really good source to do other things with. And one of those is to listen to it again and make sure that, or take a look and see if there's any good questions that you asked somebody in the live, or good questions that you talked about to the audience in your live. Maybe you shared some unique viewpoints that you could use to sort of cultivate a deeper relationship with your audience. So I recommend listening again and then using these questions and these unique viewpoints to build a relationship and stimulate conversations with your audience on Instagram and Facebook groups. You can use polls on Instagram stories. You can have conversations on Twitter. You can make you can do a Twitter thread where you ask a series of questions. You could do a poll on Twitter to ask your audience about what they feel about certain topics. You could do this on LinkedIn as well. So how do you do this? You listen to your live again and start to write down anything good, basically. And then you upload your video to YouTube. This is another way to do it. You can upload your video to YouTube and make it public or private. It's up to you. And then you can actually use that use the captions that are automatically generated to actually read through the transcript. So you can download the SRT file of those captions, or you can read through them online. And you'll start to see some questions that you asked or some good ideas that you talked about that you can actually reuse for your content in those other ways that I discussed earlier. And then once you've analyzed the transcript, you can use that information to build your questions for your audience. Now, why do you want to have conversations with your followers? Because the more that you know about what they think and what they want from you, the more powerful information you have, basically. And it's really useful when you are a business owner. So that was number 8, using info from your videos to create juicy questions for your audience. Number 9 is to use an article from your blog to make social media posts. So this is another good way to use blog posts. How can you decide what blog post to use? When? First, you can look at Google Analytics and look at some of your top performing posts for the last year or two. Are there any that actually demonstrate your expertise as well? That's an extra bonus. I'm guessing they probably do. If there's a specific topic that you want to share expertise about right now, you can choose those blog posts from your blog. Maybe you create evergreen content about SEO, for instance, and you're really trying to demonstrate your knowledge of SEO on Instagram right now. You can use some of that information from the blog that you probably did a lot of research on to create new posts on Instagram. So basically you're showcasing your expertise, and you're not starting at square one because you already have the information. So why not make the process quicker with repurposing? And what I would do in this case would be to find the main points of my blog, and then I might actually use whole paragraphs from my blog if it warranted it, or I could slightly tweak that content to create something that's suitable for Facebook or Instagram. Blog articles can be really good for a series. So maybe you're doing a series of social media posts about SEO. So you could also use it for carousel posts, and you're going to take that information and put it into bite-sized chunks for each day's post or for each part of the carousel. So that's another good way to use those blog posts. So that was number 9, using an article from your blog to make social media posts. There's a lot going on. Number 10, use an article from your blog to create a LinkedIn article. So again, with your blog, you can recycle that information and use it on LinkedIn, but I don't recommend just copying and pasting to LinkedIn. What works better for me, at least, is shorter articles on LinkedIn. You can experiment with length and see what works better for you and your audience, but I still don't recommend just copying and pasting. I think it's better to rewrite. One way to do that would be to just focus in on one aspect of the blog post that you created. For instance, maybe you wrote an overall very in-depth blog post about SEO, but you said something about the health industry, for instance, and a lot of your followers are health industry people. Maybe you could specifically do a little more research about SEO for people in the health industry, and you could use some of your old information about SEO from that post, but also build on it to create something even more specialized so that you can share on LinkedIn. Another way to do it would be to just really take the main points and create a listicle type article, or just keep it a lot shorter than it was on your blog, not using the same phrases. And some of the best practices that I like to do on LinkedIn are to add links to related blog posts within that article. So you know, not everybody wants to click off of LinkedIn, but if they're interested in what you have to say about the topic, they might be interested in clicking over to your blog. So I would intersperse a couple links so that they can get more information about the topic on your blog or on your website. The other thing I would do is tag my LinkedIn connections who have something to say about this topic, much like I said earlier in the live. And when you're sharing the article to your feed, make sure to share a meaty paragraph about why somebody would want to read that article. So you're giving them context, you're giving them an idea of what it's about, and you're piquing their interest about the topic in that paragraph. So that is number 10, using an article from your blog to create a LinkedIn article. Now, number 11, use social media posts about your products and offers as source material for video snippets in your Instagram stories. Okay, this I don't see people talking about that much either, and I think it's a really good tactic, so let's talk about it. A lot of I'm getting a reminder that I should close Instagram. I have a daily time limit of an hour, and they don't want me to be on here anymore. But I'm going to ignore that right now because I'm in the middle of my life. All right, so a lot of people... Oh, it's raining. Okay. I might have to move in a minute. We'll see. Gosh. Okay, we'll see. It's been strange weather. It's like a little bit of rain, a little bit not. Okay, I don't know what's going on. I may have to run inside in a couple minutes. We'll see. So a lot of people tell me, I don't know what to say in my Instagram stories. I don't want to be on camera. Like, why do I have to be on camera? Or I don't feel comfortable with that, and I don't know what to say to people. So a lot of us are, you know, online service providers, and we need to connect with our audience so that we can make it clear what we offer and share our expertise, and then make it clear how people can work with us, right? So chances are that you have social media posts about your products and your offers and your services, but it's not necessarily true that you share about that in your stories. So what you should do is take some of that information that you've already shared in your posts and reuse that in your stories. I think I might have to move inside. Hold on. Maybe I'll go on my porch. I don't know. Okay. This weather is so weird. Now it's not raining anymore, but who knows in 5 minutes. So I'm just gonna take this inside. You're gonna get a tour. Got a couple more things to go through. So let's get the lighting right. Come on, dude. All right. Scene change. Hold on just a second. Let me just try to prop this up a bit. Just was doing construction in my house, so things are a bit out of order. And I wasn't expecting to be inside today. I was being really positive about how it was not gonna rain. All right, so let's see here. Just position this a bit. All right, well, it's not that beautiful, but hey, I think it'll work. Let me just give a little more light so you can see. All right, that should be good. Okay, so where were we? All right, so we were talking about using your social media posts about your services and products to create stories from. So if you're scared about going on camera, I get it, but some of the benefits would be that people can connect with you as a human being, and they if they connect with you as a human being, they can sort of see themselves working with you better. So you're going to use those posts that you already have, chances are, in your Instagram feed to repurpose and talk about all the services and products that you offer, so that people have a good idea of how they could work with you. Try going on camera a little bit a day, and then you can practice, and if you don't like what you see, you can try recording again. It's okay. And there's other ways, you know, if you're like really scared about going on camera, you might be able to work through that, but while you're working through that, there's other ways to use Instagram in your stories. Maybe you could share some of your products and offers to your stories, do some polls, do some other stuff to get interactions in your stories so that people start to interact and expect a conversation in your stories. And you can build that relationship with people so that they feel more confident about hiring you in the future. So that is number 11, using social media posts about your products and offers as source material for video snippets or other content for your Instagram stories. All right, so, this is a fun one. Number 12, create an infographic from a blog post to show your findings visually. So maybe you found out something rather complicated. Sometimes a visual way of sharing that information is a lot easier for people to digest. And when you're looking at other people's infographics, you can start to get ideas for when you want to design one yourself, and start to analyze, like, why is this one so compelling? What about it makes it clear? Or like, what about it makes it fun to absorb? So you can save infographics that really help you understand complex concepts. You can look for them on Pinterest or on Canva, and start to get some ideas about design for your own infographics. When you're designing, you can think about colors and shapes, like what does red mean? What does green mean? Think about those kinds of concepts that's going to make it easier for you to get your point across. And maybe you want to use bar graphs or other types of commonly known, symbols that everybody can understand when you are creating your infographic. Also, if you use other people's source content, make sure to cite them. And you also want to include your logo or your brand information so that people know who created your infographic and they can find you again if they want more of your content. Ways that you can use the Instagram, or ways that you can use this infographic would be to include it in your email marketing, to share it on social media, on LinkedIn, again with a meaty paragraph. You could use it if you're pitching a guest post to another blogger. You could include the infographic so that they can quickly get an idea of like what you were pitching about. It's a good way to get your point across quickly. So that is number 12. Creating a blog post to show creating an infographic from a blog post to show your findings visually. All right, number 13. Make an audio clip from a blog or social media post. So we haven't talked about audio yet, and it can actually be a really good type of content that people can also connect with you with, that doesn't make you have to go on camera. So it might be a good option if you're not ready for camera, and or a lot of people just really enjoy audio content. So if you have a podcast especially, or maybe you're an author and you want people to listen to your book, there's a lot of different ways to use audio. So when you have a blog post that you want to create audio from, you're looking for emotional, unique, or scintillating parts of the blog post. And you can also do it from your social media posts. If there's something that, again, you're looking for the same things, emotional or unique parts of your social media posts that you can use to create audio. So once you find clips, you want to find like interesting information that's under 30 seconds long. That's my best practice tip. So say you find something that's 15 to 20 seconds long, that's fine. You're going to make a audio recording with your phone or with your computer. Usually your phone is higher quality, but it depends on what you have. And once you make that clip, make sure you're in a quiet place with not too much echo. My house seems to have a lot of echo right now because I haven't really moved things back into this room. So find a quiet place to make your audio recordings, and make sure that it's clear. You can listen back to it and make sure that it's clear, and make sure that maybe there's like little sounds at the beginning and the end. Try to edit those out when you're editing. I recommend using Veed. That's a free or low-cost program that you can use to edit. The other thing you can use is Canva, which is also free or low-cost. So when you're editing the sound and you've got that all ready to go, next you want to create a graphic that quickly lets people know what this is about. Some people like to show the captions like in Word form showing up, which you can do with Veed or you can do with Canva, I believe. You can also do that on Instagram. You can add the captions. Another thing that people like to include is the audio waveform. So when you hear something that's audio, sometimes you see the waveform going up and down depending on the volume, and that helps people immediately know that this is going to be an audiogram. It's actually called an audiogram. So they know immediately that it's going to be something they listen to, right? So I like to add the audiogram, and there's like different colors and different types you can add over top. And if you've seen an audiogram before, let me know in the comments. I see a few people here now, finally. But yeah, I like audiograms because I find that I can connect with the person who's talking. Like a lot of times it's the account holder who is talking, and I like the idea of hearing their voice, especially if it's an author or somebody that that is an authority who writes, or I like to connect with them on that auditory level for some reason. So when you've created these audiograms, you can share them on Instagram or on Facebook, and they're a good way to connect with your audience. Now, when you're sharing them, you can add a call to action to actually read the source document. So if it's a book, you can share how to buy the book. If it was a podcast, you can share the link to the podcast. If you're sharing on Instagram, you can also share this post in your stories, and in your stories you can share a link. So you want to make it accessible for people if they're interested in hearing more of the same topic. Another way you can do it is you can ask them to DM you, and you'll share with them a direct link to whatever the source content is. And another way you can do it is you can share a similar resource. Like maybe you have a lot of content about the same topic. Let's just switch topics here, and you are a midwife, and you wrote all these, different books or different articles about women's rights and women giving birth, and you share a little bit from one article, but you have a whole series about it. Maybe you want to share that you have that whole series. So these are good ways to plant the seeds for people to go back and sort of do a deep dive into your other content. So that's number 13, using blog or social media posts to create audio content. Okay, number 14. Now, in my resource, I say that you should create 3 to 5 different Pinterest graphics for your latest blog post. Things have changed since then, and I recommend doing about 3 graphics because their algorithm has changed and they prefer you to not share too many of the same link on Pinterest now. So create 3 different graphics for your latest blog post, and they should all have sort of a different version of similar pictures, and preferably pictures that you use on your blog, because that helps unify everything. So you're using those pictures from your blog to create these visuals, and make sure that they convey the subject of your blog well. That kind of goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. And make sure that you're using engaging text to let people know why they'd want to click on this graphic. Like, why do they want to go to your blog? Why do they want to go to your website? What is compelling about this thing? So another tactic that you can try on Pinterest, if you have products, say that it's clothing, for instance, you might want to cut out the model's upper face, because a lot of times on Pinterest, people are sort of dreaming for themselves. They're thinking about ideas for the future, stuff that they want to buy, or they're thinking about like their perfect outfit. They want to envision themselves in the outfit. So some brands like to sort of cut here so that they focus on the viewer imagining themselves in that product. So when you are sharing these graphics, I recommend sharing them no sooner than a week apart. So each graphic, you should wait a week to share another one, and you can schedule them out on Pinterest. You can also do it with Later, which is another scheduling company. You can also do it with Tailwind. If you want to just keep it simple, just do it with Pinterest. I think they give you about 2 to 3 weeks to schedule out your content. So if it's only 2 weeks, then you'll have to go back in that second week and schedule out your 3rd pin, because you don't want to make them too frequent, because that can get your account banned, and you don't want that to happen. So yeah, just don't share too many of the same pin, basically. And I recommend around 3 is a good number. All right, so that's number 14. Create 3 to 5 different Pinterest graphics for your latest blog post. Okay, this is number 15. Reuse videos from Instagram Reels to create Pinterest idea pins. So, okay, I'm listening to some hammering outside. I thought it was my front door. All right, so if you've ever created Pinterest idea pins, you probably know some of the good topics. They include tutorials using a photo sequence, or you can photo or video sequence, or you can do a collection of your products, maybe like pairing different things together. You could do recipes or how-tos. You can also do behind the scenes. They work really well for behind the scenes. And if you already have reels around those topics, you can use those reels to create idea pins. So there's 2 ways to do that. First, if you still save the video, the original video from your reel, you can just use that to recreate your idea pin. The other thing you can do if you don't have the original video is you can download it using a free online downloader. You can download it from Instagram and use that video to upload to create an idea pin. And you can slightly change your reels to create something new for idea pins. It's good practice to start with video content in the first slide for idea pins. So if you don't have video content, you can actually go to Canva and take your photo and give it some video feel by animating it. That's what I mean. So you can do some type of animation to have maybe your video floats in, or it shakes a little bit, or something to give it a video feel, because that works well with idea pins, and Pinterest favors video content for idea pins. So it's good practice to start with video, and if you have more video, you can do more video within each snippet of the idea pin. Idea pins can be up to 1 minute long, so they're not super long, so you have to make sure that you keep your information short and to the point. And then I think it's important with idea pins and with reels to have a compelling call to action, because neither of those allow you to offer a link, right? So people can't click through to your website or to your product. So you want to let people know what to do next. Basically, you don't want them to just forget about you after they watch your reel or after they watch your idea pin. You want them to, okay, I'm curious about this person. I want to learn more. So some good ways to do that with idea pins is to ask them to leave a comment, or ask them to follow you. Give them small asks. Ask them to like it, to show that they enjoyed the content and they want more of that type of content. So that is number 15. I can't believe I got through all 15. Wow, I didn't leave that much time for Q&A, but I'm not sure there's that many people watching live right now. Anyway, if you're watching the replay and you're curious about these concepts and you want to ask some questions about your own content, I'm definitely open to it. You can leave questions on the video itself or send me a DM. And meanwhile, those of you who are watching, do you have any questions about repurposing your content or reusing your content? Any of these concepts that I've gone through now, I'm happy to answer more questions about them. Or if you have specific questions about your own content, feel free to type them into the chat or request to go live with me right now, and we'll talk through them together. And while I'm waiting for your questions, I also wanted to share that, okay, so it's already October. How did that happen? And you can get more help from me with your content creation and content repurposing. I offer done-for-you content repurposing, and I have different levels of service. And if you want to get your marketing in front of more eyes, then I recommend using content repurposing to make that possible. In October, I have availability for 2 new clients, so feel free to send me a DM. We can get on a call together and discuss how we would work together to get your content in front of the right audience, the people that need what you do. And as I mentioned before, I'll be sharing some more tutorials on Instagram about repurposing your content. And so if you're not already following me, feel free to follow me and follow along with that series that I'm creating. And yeah, thanks for coming today. And I'm not seeing any questions right now, but if you're watching the replay and you have questions, I am definitely open to answering them. And after I get off the live, I'm going to share the link to the free resource that I mentioned at the beginning, which goes through all 15 of the things that I talked about in the replay. And you can kind of write some notes there of what I shared in this Instagram live. So I hope it'll be useful. And thank you. See you next time.